Hi guys, welcome back to The Life of a Doctor's Wife. In today's episode, I'm sitting down with Ciara, and I'm so excited for this conversation because we're talking about so many layers of what life looks like when you're married to medicine. We're talking about her husband's journey through medicine, switching residency programs, the military, being a second career physician, and building a family, Ciara's own career, motherhood, and even navigating life online. So I think one of the biggest things we talk about here is that medicine is a family journey and it impacts both people in the relationship. And Ciara has such a unique perspective. Ciara, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks. I'm excited.
So before we jump into medicine, I want everyone to know you outside of being the doctor's wife. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how and when you met your husband, kids, or where you are in life right now?
I actually appreciate that question because that's something that a lot of the quote-unquote doctor's wives always have to deal with is you get labeled the doctor's wife. And it's like, cool, I'm also my own person. I'd appreciate that, that address. So that's actually a solid way of kicking things off. I work in health and fitness. I do all things sports. I'm a certified personal trainer, so I do a lot as far as helping people from the preventative side of things before you actually have to go see the doctor. But do that, and then I also help high school athletes get recruited to college. So I do a lot of consulting through a company, IMG Academy, through the NCSA sector. So, I work in all things sports and athletics. Met my husband through one of my trainers, actually. He told me I had been single for too long, so he decided that I needed to be connected to one of his clients, and it actually came at a recommendation of my trainer's wife. She was like, Ciara would be a perfect fit for Chris, and so my trainer Mirko actually hooked us up, and we did a double date because I told Mirko, I was like, I'm not going on a blind date with this guy that you're just randomly throwing at me. Like you and your wife have to go with me. I'm not doing this alone. So we did a double date and hit it off. And now we're here going into 9 years, and we have a son, Coulter. He is now about to turn 4 in August, and he is everything boy. He is everything you'd expect from having a boy. He's a little crazy at times, but super social, super outgoing. That's we're in Chris's, technically it's his second year of residency. He did an intern year at in Huntington, West Virginia at Marshall for general surgery. And then he matched to here for Grand Strand EM. So, and that was actually how I met. It got introduced to your husband when he came for his rotations. So I remember that trek very well, where Chris was gone for like 4 months doing all of his interview rotations at different hospitals. So so that's where we're at now. We're leading into our second year at Grand Strand. Really love it. I love living at the beach. I wouldn't have it any other way. So that's a nice change from West Virginia.
Yeah. No, I thank you because I don't think I've actually formally thanked you because you were there for my husband when we couldn't be there. So I really appreciate it that you invited him over to your home. You fed him as much as my husband loves to cook, but he still talks about that dinner and how good it was. So, and
I'll give Chris the invite one there, because I remember your husband showing up at my door and I was like, wait a second, you're not part of the. Who are you? I didn't know who he was. And I was like, did some random dude just come up to my house? Like, I was like, sir, I have people over here. I was like, who are you? And I was just like, and he was like, oh, well, I'm doing a rotation. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, all right, you can come in then. Okay. I literally, because I didn't recognize him. I was like, wait a second. You're not any of the people that I know. Hold on. Why are you at my door? Did something happen?
Oh my gosh.
So
that's so funny.
Initially it was like a hesitation.
Yeah, so they had Dave over for dinner while he was on his audition rotation there. And when he was living in a house of other residents who were just coming and going, I think the idea of having some form of socialization, was
not living off of snacks and energy drinks.
Exactly. Yeah. Was huge.
I feel that.
And I even saw like the light in his voice too. Like when I had talked to him afterwards, just I think not having to just like go home, shower and lay in bed and get sleep and do it all over again, especially like when you're away from your wife and away from your daughter and like all that long term. It's hard.
Yeah. I remember that. I remember because Coulter wasn't even a year yet. And Chris went on his rotations, and it was just me, because we didn't have any family in El Paso when we were at Texas Tech. And so it was just like, okay, like 4 months, you're going to, rotate to all of these different programs to, essentially try and get a job through med school. And, he's away from home and nobody's doing his laundry and has to figure out how to feed himself. And, like it sucks. And like, you're trying to also make an impression, and it's tough doing rotations. Like that part of the interview process, definitely, I don't miss that.
Yeah, I'm glad it's behind us. So as we talk about a lot of this and like the struggles and things that they're going through, how do you support someone else's dream while also still trying to pursue your own dream with your own business?
So I guess I have a different type of viewpoint when it comes to this, because Chris and I are older, right? Like I'm 40 years old. So Chris had been going through, he was, a non-traditional med school candidate or medical candidate. And so we were older going into this whole process. Like he was older than everybody in the med school, just about. I think there was like maybe one or two other guys that were like even close or had kids. So going into this, I had a very, I think I had a better idea of what I was getting myself into and what he was getting himself into, more so than younger couples or younger people that go through this. So I do want to preface with that, because I already had lived a significant amount of like my successful personal training career, like personal training, like my career was kind of slowing down, which was nice. We had just gotten married, and, once we got married, like we moved to Texas within a year for him to start med school. And so I knew all going into all of this that, okay, there's going to be a lot of balance that comes just on me. But I was okay with that, because I already had developed kind of, my personality, my expectations, I had already achieved a lot of what I wanted, like building a family and just kind of maintaining where I was where we were as a company was kind of like all I really had to worry about. And I was okay with that. So I think that was a helpful factor. And I was really looking forward to kind of almost being like how do I put this? Like the med school mom of like, I get to make all the dinners and the fun little outings and like that stuff that I was like, oh, I get to do events. Like I want to do that stuff. Like, I was definitely like the social organizer during medical school. And so like, that was the kind of stuff that I was like getting excited about. But as we were segueing into medical school, COVID hit. So my husband started medical school at the very start of COVID.
Wow.
So it was a unique situation that came into, okay, well, social calendar is going to get interesting, as in non-existent.
Yeah.
And there were so many requirements that were thrown in to the mix of, okay, well, now you're going to have to learn all of this medical stuff sitting in your office at home. You're not going to be going to class. You're not going to be doing the live sessions with, professors and things like that. Everything was now all of a sudden no contact, even medical school. And so that was a little scary leading into that, is like, how the heck are you going to teach yourself medicine? Like you're supposed to be relying on the professors in this university to, teach you what you need to know. And that was the first 2 years of medical school were rough in that regard. And, even working through even the last part of it, COVID still had its residuals. So, it was kind of like, I like to say the phrase of a baptism by fire of essentially what we were dealing with. And not to mention, then you add a kid to the mix, because I had Coulter in the middle of medical school. And I remember when he was 4 months old and he got COVID because as physicians, and you're probably figuring this out too with your daughter, is they bring home everything.
Yeah.
Constantly. And so, supporting him through, and Chris is a very social person, so supporting him from like the mental side of things and like the fact that we can't get out and go see people and like be around as many people, or, everybody was required to get their shots and like do all that kind of stuff. Like it put a pretty solid dark cloud on the excitement of starting medical school pretty quick. So it was, figuring out how to support him with, how to, be home all the time and not see any of his classmates really, or only seeing people through a computer, or, okay, how do we establish the amount of study time that you need with also a bustling household? Like it's hard to tell a 2-month-old to be quiet. Like,
yeah.
So, and like, disrupting sleep, plans. And so, and we couldn't get to the gym anymore because all of that was closed down. Like it was an interesting and a unique experience as far as like what that brought to the table, on top of just the fact of normally starting medical school and competing for these, spots and grades and scores, against some of, the top 1% of the company or of the nation.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you were smart in school, and you were smart, when, you were taking these courses to get into medical school, but now everybody's smart. And how are you stacking up and handling that against other people that are just as smart, if not smarter than you? And that can really play with your head when you're used to success, on a pretty frequent basis of not necessarily having to not have to try very hard, but it became real work. It became a lot of work to keep up with everything.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
Honestly, I think it was better having someone that can like feed you and do your laundry and everything like that, because a lot of the younger kids that aren't married or didn't have a significant other, they have to do all of that stuff plus survive medical school. So.
Mm-hmm. Now, you did mention that your husband came into medicine as a second career. Can you talk about what that season looked like from your perspective as his spouse?
So Chris has a super, super unique and interesting story as to how he came into medicine. So he's military, U.S. Army. He was a tank officer. And so he originally he went to the Citadel, and he did a political science degree. He was going to do law. He did a whole pre-law track, even sat for the LSAT. And so decided, okay, well, I now have to go do my 6 years of service after the Citadel, and decided he didn't want to do law anymore. That was like not his thing. And so fast forward 6 years, he comes back from, from being overseas and from, being deployed. And he's like, he gets his first job, from coming back, and he works in medical sales. And so he got really drawn into, the whole medical side of things, and working with a lot of the orthos and the people that he was shadowing and seeing and, selling these products to. And he said, I really just feel like my passion would be to be on the other side of the table. And so he decided, yeah, I'm going to go back to school, and I'm going to do, the required courses to get into medical school. And so he had just started, he had taken like one class. I think he had taken one stats class right before I met him. So that's something that's really important to understand, is that I wasn't married to Chris when he was deployed. That was all before me. I wasn't your quote unquote military wife waiting for him to come home. I was a trainer in Charlotte. And so after I met him, he really picked up his course load and, taking his chemistries and, all of the other required courses that fit in with what he already had credits for. And so, helping him kind of navigate some of that was really crazy. And just watching him just literally, when he makes a decision to do something, just like grit it out. And he did really well. He took to, chemistries and the biologies and just the medical, knowledge base super, super well. Heck, I mean, some of the classes he actually did better than I did.
Yeah.
Because I was an exercise science major. So I was like, dang, you just like rocked chemistry. You have an A in it. Like, that's insane. That's awesome.
Yeah, I could
so
never.
he really took to it. Yeah, he really took to it. He really did. It did amazing. This was something that really was his niche. And so, and then obviously, took all of his entrances and did well with the MCAT and, had his choice of med schools and decided on Texas Tech, specifically because his grandfather and grandmother are from El Paso, and they started the medical school down there in Texas Tech. So he kind of felt a strong family connection to the lineage there with that medical school with Texas Tech down there. And we had family, we had like an aunt, one of his aunts lives down there, and a few of his cousins. And so we had at least one person that was going to live somewhat close to us that we knew. And so that's where he decided to go. And it was like super crazy as far as his track. He then reenlisted, going through the first year of medical school, and now he is a reservist. He's part of MedCom. So essentially he's, MedCom is basically like the whole, I don't want to say council, but the whole assigned division of physicians for military personnel. And so essentially, he's an Army physician. That's essentially what he is now. So yeah, so he gets to do EM, and he's a functional surgeon for the U.S. Army.
So I'm kind of ignorant in this. So could he be deployed as in the military as a physician after residency, technically?
Yep.
Okay.
Very much so. Yep, he can. Deployments are only 3 months, though. So the previous deployments that he had were much longer because he wasn't affiliated with MedCom. But as a physician, you only deploy for 3 months. So he wouldn't be going for very long.
Okay. And then he was military going into medical school. So were you able to do a lot of those, like they pay back the student loans, all of that?
Yep. Yeah. So he had the Hazelwood Act. So part of Texas. So Texas paid for a predominant amount of medical school. So we didn't really come out of medical school with really any debt per se, which was nice. So we got scotch-free out of that one. Because that's always the big topic is like, the medical school data. And it's like, well, the military helped out with that quite a bit. So we didn't have that weight on us. We actually got to pay off other debts. So, which was nice.
That's incredible.
Yep.
How would you say that military life may be different from what people might imagine it to be?
I think that some people think that it's, how do I put this? I think they kind of have like rose-colored glasses when they're looking at it. Like things are just easier if you're in the military, or I don't know, some people might think like it might come with a lot of privileges, which it does. But I think from like the medical perspective, and also just from going through this, and especially as a spouse, because that's kind of like the only standpoint that I can look at it from, you have to be okay with, you have to be very comfortable with yourself and what you're doing, and very confident in yourself and doing things alone more so than a regular spouse. Mm-hmm. And I think that, a lot of people, it's so great that, you have the confidence to like take your son to do this and this all by yourself without any help, or take him to the beach and nobody's here helping you, or that's amazing that, you go do this and this. And it's like, I don't really have a choice. Mm-hmm. But the other thing too is it's just not a second thought for me, because that's just how I don't want to say that you're expected to operate, but that you just kind of like, that's what you want to do. You just got to do it. You can't really wait around for the other person because they have other stuff to do.
Yeah. I feel like
on a ton of stuff.
Sometimes we don't even think about like what life would be like if he was there. It's like, okay, you want to leave the house. If you don't want to stay home all the time, then like, that's just what you do.
Yeah.
Like you don't think twice about it.
And I think that, that was just something that, my mom would back me up on this, that I was just kind of like personality wise just effed for. Like, I am perfectly fine with my own company. I don't need other people per se. Like, I am okay with my alone time and doing things on my own and going and doing things on my own. Do I want Chris there? 1000%. If I have a choice between doing things with him and doing things by myself, well, then yeah, I always want to do stuff with him.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's just not conducive because, yeah, like, he can't always be there. You know, there's things that we used to do together all the time that we just can't do, you know, together anymore. Like, go to the gym. Like, I can't go and do our workout. We can't go and do our workouts all the time, you know, together because, like, I'm not getting off at work at 11 o'clock and, you know, rolling up to, you know, the gym because I'm going to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So, like, and I have a toddler at home. Like, there's just things like that you just kind of, like, life throws at you and you're like, all right, well, we got to pivot on that. But if he has a day off and I'm going to the gym, you know, at 10 o'clock and he's like, oh, okay, well, I don't have to work until 2. Can I come work out with you? Yeah, let's go work out. So you just have to, I think people they treat it as like you should get a medal for doing stuff on your own or with your kids on your own, or like there's some medal that you should get for having the courage or the confidence to do things by yourself. And I think that's kind of dumb, to put it frankly. It's like, no, like, just go do it. Like, that's just something that, you know, you're going to have to learn to do. And I know there are people that struggle with that. I definitely know there are people that struggle with that like, you know, wrapping their head around that. Because I've seen it within, like, kind of the medical spouse community, that's like a common complaint. But the more you do it, the more you put yourself outside of the comfort zone, I think that people would surprise themselves.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think one thing that I really do want to get to and talk about, because I know a lot of spouses quietly do experience this, it's switching residency programs. So can you walk us through what that season was like for you guys and how you handled it? I'm sure it was unnerving at times.
Yeah, that was really hard. That was it's complete unknown. And I think that Chris probably handled it better than most because he's used to the unpredictability of the military. But also the thing too is, like, when you have an expectation of how things are supposed to go in the residency that you really want and you don't get it, and then you're kind of scrambling for, okay, well, what is out there? Where can I be, and what can still facilitate my end goal? And there's so much unknown with that. Like, that's insane. It's crazy, and it'll drive you crazy. Like, it's a lot of stress. That is a hugely stressful time for people because, and I know that I've seen a lot of data with just the last, the 2026 and the 2025 match systems and how they're doing a whole bunch of investigations now with all of it, because I think it was like 2,400 kids went unmatched just in 2026, something like that. I'll have to find the stats again, but I believe it. You know, you had 2,400 kids that, you know, didn't find a place that they wanted to match for and were left with the SOAP process the week after, where they have to scramble for whatever is available. And watching someone go through the SOAP and just still have that be unknown and doing, like, the quick fire interviews on their computer, it's terrifying. And you just, like, you know, the hour by hour of what could happen and what could change, and that could, you know, completely upend our life and where we go and where we end up is nuts. And then having to do that twice, because he went through the match twice, you know, so now I had to stand by and kind of, you know, see him go through all of that again. And it can be really heartbreaking watching someone that you love literally, you know, having to question everything that's going on and everything that's about to happen. And he has the weight of a family on his shoulders as well. You know, like, he has this understanding that, okay, well, like, you know, I'm also carrying the responsibility of, you know, as a husband and as a dad to provide for my family. And if this doesn't happen, I've let them down. And so I think that a lot of that was hard on Chris, and it was hard on our family, but, you know, you take it literally 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time. In the end, as long as we're together, then that's the only thing that matters. And eventually it all worked out. You know, it came to, you know, fruition as to where we could be, and he could continue his training. But yeah, that was, I would not wish the match system and changing residencies. I would not wish that process on anybody.
I know. I was literally just going to say that. I don't wish the match on anyone. I feel like we have been saying that more and more lately. It is a grueling process. Part of me understands it in the sense of helping them get their jobs, because being someone who had their master's and out of college right after COVID and things, it was hell trying to find a job and things like that. But at the same time, there has to be a better way to do this. There has to.
I think that's exactly what a lot of the investigation into the match system is producing now after they saw the 2026 results. And so, just investigating how a lot of these universities are fulfilling their residency programs too, and the standards that they're expecting or that they're doing. I think there's a lot of things that have to change. I think more people are speaking up now, which is good, because it has, I would say, for the last, 2 to 4 years, it hasn't made sense. So there's definitely some change to happen. I think that it will happen. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how that progresses.
Yeah, for sure. Were there any conversations between you and your husband while he was going through his first residency program that this isn't for me? And how did the military support him in that? Or did they even support him in that?
To an extent, they did. I mean, he got paid. So the surgical residencies, Chris always had the intention of doing ortho. That was what the end goal was he wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon.
Got it.
And so Gen Surg kind of, I think to him, felt kind of like that, like the secondary option, but it was still surgery. It still facilitated a learning within the same surgical field. So that's why he ended up taking it, because, taking that research year, he considered that too. But I think in the end, he just figured still general surgery can help develop my skill sets. But Gen Surg is exceptionally grueling. He was barely home. We were just ships in the night, just passing by. We did not get a lot of family time. He missed out on a lot, as far as our lives in total. It was just pure survival. Doing the Gen Surg, and not to mention it's pretty close to rural medicine. So Huntington has a lot of drug addicts. I don't know why, but they had a ton of ATV accidents. So there was always somebody wrecking an ATV. So there was only so much experience he was going to get with certain injuries, out there. He wasn't kind of getting that as much ortho experience as he would have liked. So in the end, he didn't really want to just, take out grandma's gallbladder on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And so the goal, though, was even after we took that job and made that move, that, he was pretty much going to do the match a second time. So that was more so of how that went. So, yes, he was happy that it was surgery. It's just the type of surgery. It was not really kind of facilitated more of what he wanted. And the hours were insane. I bless the families that do Gen Surg residencies.
I know. One of David's fellow classmates graduated top of his class and 5 kids. I'm and matching.
You're never gonna see him.
And matching Gen Surg. I'm I have no idea. And more power to his wife, because she's super mom over there.
Yeah, no. Unless you have family, unless you're going to match somewhere where you have family to help you out, in that situation, then I get it. But hard pass on that.
Yeah.
No. So that was hard for us. And it was hard for Coulter and I, too, because we just didn't get to see Chris. We didn't get to interact as much. And, he was kind of just floating around as this shell of a human being, because he was just so exhausted, because it was just, it's very demanding. The hours are just insane. Some days he wouldn't even, it wouldn't even make sense for him to come home, because he would only be home for a couple hours and he would be sleeping the whole time. So he would just sleep at the hospital. We would go days without seeing him.
Yeah.
So that takes a toll. And Huntington, West Virginia has nothing to do. If you've ever been, there's not, I had a garden and the house. We lived on 4 acres out in the middle of nowhere. And because that's the safest area that you could possibly live, because in town is just not, it's just run over by drug addicts. And so that was like, there wasn't really a whole lot to explore and do, which kind of sucked. Like they didn't have anything really for kids. And so we lasted 9 months in Huntington. That was it.
Wow.
And we were like, nope, we're not doing this. As soon as he figured out where we were going next, we were packed up. I had actually packed half of the house up a month before he even got to the match. And I had already like had everything like ready to go, because we knew we were like 90% sure that we were not staying there.
Yeah, we knew we weren't staying obviously in Lynchburg, especially because he had other priority places, but also Lynchburg, Virginia did not have an emergency medicine residency program.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that. I think after Christmas, when we got back, I started packing boxes. I was like, yep. I can't do this. But I was so lucky because once match hits, it's like go time. Like you just have to go. Like there is no like waiting around. You're then trying to like figure out housing and all the other things that I was like, I'm so glad majority of this is already packed.
Yep. Yeah. That's one thing I am very good at, is I can move us very efficiently and very quickly. That is a skill set I have perfected at this point.
What would you tell another spouse who feels like they're stuck in a situation that isn't working? So I guess whether that is in a residency program that isn't for their spouse, or let's say stuck in the situation of like, I feel like I would never get to see my spouse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's never anything wrong with, I mean, you should never be in a position where you can't express what your personal feelings are. You're in a marriage, you're in a partnership with this person. And so, you know, this is also your life. Yes, it's their medical training, but you should have a say also of kind of like what also works for you. Honestly, there's only so much control you have over that. And there's only so much control sometimes they have over that, just because of the match system. But, you know, there were places that, you know, when we were looking at like the rankings of like how we wanted to rank the different places, you know, Chris, we went over like the different areas we would live and what would be the pros and cons of the program, what he had learned about like the requirements to be in that program, the time requirements and stuff like that. So like we had a whole back and forth of all of them and how we felt that we should rank them. So he was actually very inclusive with me in that process. It wasn't just like, hey, here, I've made the rankings, this is what's going to happen. Like there was never that type of conversation. It was always, you know, what do you think? What do you think about this and this? And he let me ask questions, and he let me, you know, speak my mind and what I thought. And he took into account, you know, those opinions and those thoughts. So having a healthy back and forth on that is very helpful, and it makes you feel included. Even when he was considering medical schools, there were some of the medical interviews, the med school interviews, that I went with him. And so, you know, you have to have a healthy back and forth conversation about all of those things and what you prefer and what you don't prefer. You know, I did not want to live in the middle of Minnesota. You know, like I am not a cold person. I don't want to live somewhere where it's absolutely freaking cold. Now, if that's what it comes down to for the options, okay, yes. But if I have my preference, you know, there were areas of the country that I would prefer to live in as opposed to others. And so he had that knowledge base. He knew that I supported him. He knew that, you know, in the end, I would go anywhere that facilitated his dream and what he wanted to do. But he also was good at listening and cognizant of my input, which was good.
No, I think that's real, because David and I talked about that a lot. Like he loved the Grand Strands program. He loved the hospital and things when he was there. And honestly, I wasn't even planning on going there. And I ended up flying in right at the end so we could look at houses, because he was like, I think this is going to be like top of my list. Later on, he then like started doing audition rotations here and things in Charleston, and we started to learn about Charleston too. And I was like, you know what? I think Charleston is more of our permanent home after residency. Like if Myrtle Beach is where we will live for a little bit of time, that's one thing. But like also school systems and things, because we knew we wanted to continue to grow our family in residency. So for us, it was like finding
Correct.
that
Yes.
balance too. Like, are we going to send our kids to private school? That's fine. But then we need to like financially make that work too, about like where we're living. And
Correct.
also I think which you can probably relate about emergency medicine, is it's nights, it's weekends, the timing is all over the place, where I knew I needed to feel safe in my home with my child and not feel like I can't sleep because he's working nights and I'm afraid of someone busting through my door.
Oh, we had that conversation, that whole experience when we lived in Huntington, because he was getting really nervous about like the drug population. And so I learned how to shoot.
Yeah.
I went ahead and learned how to operate weapons in our house, and where they all were, and what was coded, and what a plan was. And we've done that with every house that we've lived in, and just establishing a security system and making sure that there's certain locks that are on certain doors and things like that. So I totally get that, because living out in the middle of nowhere and having no one that can hear you scream, and the police are going to take a hot minute to get there, like. All right. Well, we have to come up with options here, and so firearms were the solution.
Yeah. No, it's so important to like not try to be anxious about it, but prepare yourself for realistic possibilities at this point. Unfortunately, the way our world is going, you have to be realistic. Yeah.
And if people, are not happy with him as a doctor, or hold some kind of animosity, and they want to figure out where he lives, I'm not cool with that either. So
yeah. Now, adding kids into the mix a little bit, which, again, protecting our children, how has becoming a mom changed the way you view this whole journey?
Time management is huge. I am religious about our calendars and scheduling things, and the transparency that he and I have about our schedules and what's going on and when it's going on. That is very, very big with us. Because then it helps us determine, okay, how can we schedule family time? Like, where for like most families, mom and dad might get home at 5:00 and you get to have your family time in the evening and eat dinner together and like we don't get that. We don't always have that. And, medical, military, whatever, we're on a completely different lifestyle and schedule. And so, you prioritize when you can prioritize. Scheduling is huge. Stuff for us to do together, stuff for him and Coulter to do together, so they have that bonding time. That's become a really big factor of how we're successful with a lot of things, because everybody knows what's going on that day and what the expectation is. And if there's any issue, you have time to speak up about it.
No, I completely agree.
My Google Calendar is the Bible. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist, and we're not doing it.
Yeah. No, I've been trying to crack down on David to be a little bit better. I'm like, look at the calendar, put it on the calendar. Like, you can't just text it to me or say it out loud and think I'm going to know it, because it's not.
Yes. And I went through that phase with Chris, and I was like, I need you to understand that if you do not share your official calendar with me, this doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Whoever is sending you this spreadsheet, I can't make sense of what these acronyms are. Like, just if it's in your calendar, then share it. And that's basically what it is now. So I know exactly when he's working, exactly when I can and cannot schedule things, and that is what it is. Like, if we have a weekend together, great. Like for example, tomorrow's Father's Day. Mm-hmm. Okay, should I schedule anything to actually do, or are you going to be asleep or working? Like, we need to figure that out. I can look in the calendar. I can see that he has off. Awesome. We have off. Let's do stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, do you actually put in the calendar, like, family time, even if you're home, just so no one overbooks that?
Yeah, he knows when I have my work schedules, when I get off of work, when that's all done. And, he'll always check in and be like, okay, well, can I, do this or, whatever with Coulter on this day and whatnot. And we schedule all that.
Yeah. I think that's
the way it's got to be.
Definitely something that we need to start doing for residency. I want to take a quick break and let you guys know the best way to make some extra free cash. If you're anything like our family, you're constantly filling up the gas tank, grabbing groceries, or picking up dinner on a busy night. And with prices seeming to go up every week, I'm always looking for simple ways to save money without changing my routine. That's why I've been using the Upside app. Upside gives you cash back on everyday purchases like gas, groceries, and dining at participating locations near you. All you have to do is open the app, claim an offer, shop like you normally would, and earn cash back. You can even stack those savings on top of your existing credit card rewards and loyalty programs. As a busy wife, mom, and soon-to-be residency family, I love anything that helps stretch our budget a little further. Those small savings really do add up over time. Plus, cashing out is easy. You can transfer your earnings to your bank account, PayPal, or choose from a variety of gift cards like Amazon or Starbucks. If you'd like to try it for yourself, download the free Upside app and use my code Morgan45393. That's MORGAN 45393 when you sign up. New users can earn a referral bonus on their first qualifying purchase. Again, that's the free Upside app and use the code Morgan45393. Start earning cash back on purchases you're already making. Now let's get back to the episode. How do you handle the seasons where your husband is stretched thin?
Go do something else. Go find other things to do. Go to the gym on a more frequent basis. No, I mean, when he's stretched thin, I mean, because the ER cases that he deals with, I mean, they're tough. Like, you're seeing people on the worst day of their lives. So it's not like the guys can come home and immediately snap out of it and be okay and be happy-go-lucky all the time. You know, there are some cases that Chris comes home and it really sits with him sometimes for days. You know, did I do enough? How I performed enough to help that family? What did I do wrong? How can I be better? Like he mulls that over for days. It affects him for a while. And he's human. That's understandable. Anybody that works in EM would, I mean, unless you're a complete psychopath, the stuff that you're going to see on a daily basis is going to affect you. Mm-hmm. You can only play it off for so long. And so, you know, there are busy seasons, like when he works nights, which is like a 10 p.m. until 7 a.m. shift. When he's on nights for 4 or 5 days in a row, and then he sleeps for most of the day, I try to get culture out of the house as much as possible and make the house as quiet as possible. Like, he just needs peace. He needs rest. You know, there's food in the fridge, maybe drop off a Gatorade in the bedroom once in a while, but, not overscheduling anything. Just keeping things as chill and, simple as possible. So that's more along the lines of, just trying to keep things as as low key as possible during things like that. He also gets really when there's tests that they have to study for or sit for, testing situations are never fun. Whenever they're prepping for the step 1s, the step 2s, step 3s, anything leading up to that, you could tell was just really, really rough. And so, hey, did you eat today? Hey, maybe you take an hour and go for a walk, or just kind of just reminding them that you can put medicine away for a minute. You can put it away it's not going to go anywhere. Medicine is always going to be there, but you have to do other things that are going to keep you sane and occupy your mind, just for the simple health and wellness side of things. Hey, okay, this gym doesn't work for your schedule. Go get another, gym package that can facilitate 24/7 so that you can actually get in the gym, because that's your sanity. Figure out a way for that to happen. Did you work out this week? Go work out. Go do that. That's your time to slam things, get out the emotions, and do that.
No, I think that's all really great advice. What's something you wish people understood about a wife and mom to someone in medicine?
Life into what?
What's something you wish people understood about a wife and mom to someone in medicine?
I
guess someone from the outside who doesn't know about medicine, what's something you wish that they would understand more about the life we live?
If I don't answer my phone, it's not because I'm ghosting you.
Seriously.
Just because I didn't answer immediately does not mean I probably saw your text and my child tried to launch himself off of the sofa and I'm the only one here to go save him. So, yeah, I mean, I'm responsible for pretty much everything. it kind of sucks to say, but you kind of are like a single parent almost to an extent. And that holds a weight of its own. But sometimes it's nice to have people that just kind of check in on you. Like, how are we doing today? Like, what are you up to? What are you doing today? What is Coulter doing today? Chris's mom is really great about that stuff. So is my mom. Like, what did you do for yourself? Or how are you doing? Like, just like simple actions like that. Those are nice to hear, because we kind of fall to the wayside sometimes just because, the medical student or the resident is going through and doing so many big things. Like, they know that's like the biggest thing going on in life, but that's not the only thing that, is running life. So, they know that there's someone supporting behind the madness, and, you have to check in on that person too. And so I think that, like, people looking in, they kind of just think, okay, well, it looks like she's got it all under control, but, we kind of want that attention too. We want that little check-in and just into us.
No, completely. Me as pediatrician, I have to say, was huge with that. She almost brought me to tears the first time she asked me, because she takes on a lot of the medical students' children during medical school there. And every time we would come in, she would like check Mia over, help us with whatever Mia was sick, or just normal routine healthy visits, shots, whatever it may be. But then she would always take the time to look at me and say, how are you doing? Like,
correct.
How's med school? How can I help you? What do you need from me? Kind of thing. Or like, can I just give you a hug? And I'd be like, yes, please. Like,
yeah. So, like, things like that, too. It's just like, can we just talk about anything else other than medicine?
Yeah. Now, spinning a little bit away from medicine now, I know you've also built a really awesome online presence. And how did, like, sharing your life and your business begin? And do you want to talk a little bit about your social media presence there?
Funny story. I didn't have any social media before I met Chris. So I was late to the game. I was in my early 30s before I even joined or did anything with social media. But because I had such a following with the personal training world, that kind of escalated faster than I thought it would. And during medical school, and even like during his first year at Gen Surg in Huntington, I had a backseat of it. I really put more effort into just being a mom and, being supportive with Chris. So I wasn't as active within the social media realm as I probably could have been, but it has picked up, I would say, in the last year, just getting back into the swing of things, and understanding that is a fun way to be connected to everything and everybody else. And helping people, that's another great aspect of it. So that was more of like just diving more into it and getting a little bit more active with all of that, just realizing I could help more people from that area of things. So just starting to take it a little bit more seriously. But I am definitely the older generation with the social media side of things. So I am still learning every single day how to manage and do stuff like that. But, the ties to like the fitness community and everything, it's also a nice little escape from, the medical day-to-days and the, that kind of side of things. That's kind of like a me space.
No, I agree. And I feel like even kind of being in this generation of social media for myself, I feel like I sometimes even go in waves where I like check out for a little while and then check back into it.
Yeah.
Because as much as I feel like I'm not scrolling to like look at other people's, doing social media as your job is so demanding. And it is like 24/7 thing that's like always on your mind, always trying to do, building content. You're going to get a coffee. You're like, oh my gosh, should I post this? Should I not? And also trying to balance that protecting your own family's privacy in certain things and certain
that's something else that I've kind of had to like kind of work the balance of, is because I'm actually a pretty private person personally, so I don't like to go. I don't really like to like overshare too much. Like nobody needs to see every single little thing. So I do like that whole like kind of like protective niche a little bit. So that's been a fine line. And there are areas of my life that, you know, we just don't share, and that's fine.
Yeah. No, and you have to set up those boundaries and know, like David per se, people know where the city of which we live in, but they don't know the exact hospital of which he works at. And like
you have to protect that kind of stuff,
and
because people are crazy.
Yeah. And that's okay to me. So that's one boundary he wants to set. And I'm like, that's fine. Other people, friends of mine who've been on the podcast before, are like, hey, I'm not going to talk about my kids' names. We're just going to say he and she. And I'm like, great. So be it. Like, everyone now just needs to do what's best for them and their family and go from there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been fun, and I enjoy having that tie to the fitness community. It's an escape from all things medicine, you know, alternative to what you see on a daily basis. You know, I have to have my things too. I like my things that I like.
I think that's so important too. Everyone needs their own little outlet or something that they do enjoy doing. Like I said to David, although sometimes we're talking about medicine here, this is truly something that I am passionate about and something that I do enjoy doing, and feel like I am hopefully benefiting the community around me to feel like people understand that. So that is huge. But looking back at all of your seasons, whether it's military life, medical training, residency changes, your marriage, and even motherhood, what season do you think challenged you the most?
I think Chris's first residency. The first traveling from Texas to West Virginia and him doing his first gen surg residency. That first 9 months was probably the hardest in the entirety of the process. Aside from, I would say that, and then a close second was right after Coulter was born, because Chris wasn't able to help me. He just wasn't. Between studying and step prep and classes and rotations, he just wasn't able to be as involved in helping with a newborn as, you know, probably your regular dad would be able to, or a regular partner would be able to. And so having to basically buck up and deal with a newborn without, you know, really a lot of people there to help, family members to help, that was also a close second. That was tough. But I also had a pretty solid experience with kids, so I knew kind of like what I was getting into. I think I had more experience than the average mom, and being an older mom, so it wasn't as scary, but still, like, when you're the only one doing the night feedings and the only one getting up and the only one changing diapers, like, it gets rough. Yeah. Not to say Chris didn't do any of that. He did. He helped when he could, but it just wasn't as much as you know, the standard family probably would have had. So
absolutely, we were in the same
2 seasons
boat.
Were probably.
Yeah, like I was doing all the night feeds, like everything, unless he happened to be like on a break. I remember I had Mia in end of October, and it wasn't until Christmas break for a week that he finally got on to night feeds, and I was like, welcome to him. Like, I've been doing them for the last 2.5 months. And Mia was one who never slept and was very colicky, and it was a nightmare in itself. And I would be laying on the bathroom floor with her in the tub at like 2 a.m. just trying to get her to poop or something.
Yeah.
But like, I think back to those moments and like the sacrifices we both had to make, as much as he wanted to be there, but then me, and then he would come home from work, and at 5 o'clock I would say, here you go, you can eat your dinner and study, and I'm gonna go get 3 hours of solid sleep, and then I will take her back. Like, you just kind of have to make it work. And especially not having family around too, it's challenging.
Yeah, I think people don't realize, like, when you're just in that situation and this is your only option for survival, like, you just do it. You don't question it. And I think that's also a military mentality too, is like, you don't sit there and think about, how do I get out of this, or how can I, you know, you just do it. You just make the decision that, okay, this is the scenario. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And this is just what has to happen. And so you sometimes don't even have time to think as to like, is this fair or not? I never really had that question in my head of like, well, this isn't fair that I have to do all of this and he doesn't. Like I never had that thought. It was just, okay, this is what has to get done. This is what's going to get done. And then we move forward. Like that was it. And I also think that protected against a lot of resentment too, because I think that also pops up too with some couples when you have, when you first have children, is that kind of creeps into things too. But, it was hard for him. I mean, if the roles were reversed and I was a new mom and a doctor in my medical training and I wasn't able to be with my baby, that would be hard too.
Mm-hmm. No, I think always trying to put yourself in their shoes too is so important, because it's easy to say, hey, I've done 5 loads of laundry, cared for her and whatever. But like also thinking about what they've been through, what they wish they could be doing, but they don't have the mental or physical capacity for that at the moment, is so important.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, you have to understand the person that is going through their medical training just doesn't. And I think people from the outside looking in don't have as much of an ideal viewpoint of this, but their mental state is different. And you can't expect a normal reaction and normal helping from them because of what they're going through. Now, that's not to say that you're kind of giving them a crutch and an easy way out, but, if their entire livelihood with their career is dependent on how well they do in specific things, and this is what they need to do to survive medicine, let them survive. Let them find a way that's how they need to survive and do what they need to do so that they can reach this end goal. And that's a family sacrifice.
Yeah.
And I guess that's how you can look at it. But some people, like, it's not fair that you get to do this and this and this, and I have to do this and this and this. You just don't keep count.
I think those are all great pieces of advice, and I am hoping to go into, and I need to keep reminding myself every day, that I'm going into residency on Monday with no expectations, and that way I can't be disappointed. And if he happens to do something for us, amazing. That's a win in our book. But going in with no expectations of things to be done around the house or expecting him to be home at a certain hour, it is what it is. And
have dinner, have it ready for him. Stuff's in the fridge. That's why fridge and microwaves exist. Like, don't worry about that. And half the time, honestly, I don't even have to, like, a lot of times I don't even have to have food for Chris anymore because they feed them at the hospital.
Yeah.
So that's something else. The other thing too is like with to-do items around the house, we have a shared notes that we share in our phone. And if there's something that I notice that has to get done around the house, I'll put it in that shared note. And on Chris's next day off, he'll sit there and he'll choose what things he can get done on those days off.
That's a great idea.
So I don't have to sit there and nag him about it. I don't have to sit there and remind him about it on a regular basis. We have that shared note. He knows what needs to get done or what would help me. And it's actually like, I don't know if I can screenshot it and show it to you. Title of the note is Helpful House To-Dos. And it has a list of things that would help me around the house. So like I have a watch that he likes to work on. Watches is kind of like a side hobby. I have a gold watch that I want him to adjust. And so one of them is adjust Ciara's gold watch. Sharpen the kitchen knives, swap out the shower head in the master bathroom. There's things like that, your standard husband, would be able to, you'd probably just tell him on a Monday and he could do it on Tuesday or whatever when they come home from work. But we keep this running list of things so he knows, okay, these are things that can help my family. These are things that Ciara needs help with that makes either her life easier or that just need to get done around the house that she can't do. Right? Granted, I can change a shower head, and so I don't have to sit there and pick what he needs to do on his day off. If the only thing he does is 2 things off that list and he got those done, cool, chill. Like, that's awesome. We got that done. It's all good to go.
Yeah.
So like, that's been actually really nice instead of like me writing out a list of like, here is your day off, go do these things. You have a helpful to-do list, pick what you can get done and we'll call it a day. And then he just checks it off once it's done and I know it's done and we're good to go.
No, I think that's great advice. Is there anything else before we wrap up that you want to make sure we talk about that I didn't touch on?
Just, understanding that if you're a med spouse and someone that is supporting another, person through their med career, it takes a lot of grace on your part. In all things, be kind, because you never know what internally they're thinking or doing, and they're going to be the hardest ones on themselves. They really are. And so telling them, you're doing great things. You're doing amazing things for other people. I'm proud of you for doing those things. They need that reassurance on a pretty regular basis. And so sometimes you have to kind of approach the med spouse track as this is your act of service as much as they are serving other people.
Yeah.
And the internal struggles and mental struggles that they're dealing with, just so that they can help other people on a daily basis, you have to understand that you'll never entirely understand all that. And that's okay. You can still be supportive of them.
I think that's all such great advice. I think that's a wrap for this week's episode. Thank you so much, Ciara, for being here to share your story. I know that this is not always easy, so thank you for opening up to help better this community. It's truly a journey, and I'm so grateful you're here.
Yeah, I wish I had more of this when, earlier on when we were going through all this. We didn't have as many of these resources, so it's cool to see that, kind of this is all like an up-and-coming thing, because it was definitely needed.
If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean so much if you shared it with someone who might need to hear this. And as always, I'd love to hear from you, your experiences, your stories, or even things you wish you knew. So feel free to reach out or message me if you'd like to be on the podcast. You can find me on social media at Life of a DR Wife. And to those of you listening, thank you so much for being here and for spending this time with us. I don't take that lightly. Until next time, take a breath, pour yourself a nice coffee, and be kind to yourself. I'll see you in the next one.